I'm Sean McKillop. I'm 20. I was born in Chicago, grew up in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. I've been making beats for about 3 years. It's going on 4 years, I believe. And I mainly use just my computer kind of as like an arranging place. I've been doing music pretty much my whole life. I've been playing piano since kindergarten. I've been interested in it for as long as I can remember, and right now I'm at Wayne State for music tech. It was kind of just what was available to me because, I mean, when I was growing up, I spent so much time on the internet, I spent so much time playing video games. So I was already on the computer, like constantly. So I just got really good with using the computer and like really figuring out, like I could, if my mom ever needed help with anything on the computer, she would ask me, you know, like I just kind of knew how to maneuver pretty well. I don't write code or anything like that. But I'm still pretty good. I know how to get my way around if there's a problem. I know really kind of how to go in and fix it. And so I think when I started to really get into music, that was kind of what I looked for. Computers were already around. You know, we had like GarageBand on our old big Mac. So I just got started messing around in that. I really like jazz. I'm kind of in like a jazz thing right now. So I really like Bill Evans. Miles Davis. But as far as like what I make, like Madlib definitely pushes that for me. Also like Knowledge or like Mind Design, kind of any of the guys on Stone's Throw right now. As far as from what I can tell, analog music production is really cool because it's much more hands-on, which is something that I don't really get with digital that I've kind of had to battle with. Like I got this old MPC 1000 specifically for that reason, because I realized that analog was a lot more, it's a lot more touching of like buttons and knobs and really just like flipping all this different stuff. But what I kind of realized in the end, I sold it because well, first off, because I couldn't actually get it onto my computer. And also just because there's so much that you can't do, like and I guess it comes with time, with doing it a lot, that you develop those skills where you can just kind of brush over that. But there's so many just like little tiny things that I would like to adjust that I can't do, but I can do in digital because I can just kind of reach in, and there's just so many other aspects that you can approach sound from, where like I understand that you are giving up that analog sound because it sounds so much more rich, and like it's much more hands-on. But when there's, you know, that little piece of that sound that you're like, I don't like the way that sounds and I'd like to change that, and I can't do that on analog. Or just that it's like a hassle to go back and forth, or sometimes like you press one button and you're like, well shit, now that's gone, you know, now that it's all gone. Digital is more, you can see everything easier, like just the way that it's all put out. As far as hip hop, what I do, a lot of the samplers have like very small screens, and it's hard to actually picture what it is that your song or your project looks like. So there's just, and I take it for granted, but there's just little, you know, like bubbles or whatever that'll have the different MIDI notes in it, or it'll show my sample and I can actually see the image of the waveform and see where, oh, I might need to adjust this or adjust that, and I can't see that on analog. As far as like feeling it out, the sound of analog is just much more rich, and like it's a sound that you can replicate with digital, but not as well. But there are also a lot of different things, a lot of different sounds and textures that you can get within digital that you can't even hope to get with analog. As far as added, there's a lot more just little mixing things that you could never have hoped to do with analog, that you could then do with digital. Also, there's just many other like you can get like digital instruments that you can replicate within digital music that you could never do within analog. And also, but as far as subtracted, like I was just watching this interview with Q-Tip, and the way that he used to have to make beats is he had like a dub, like a tape dub, attached to his grandma's record player. So he would play a loop and he would start recording at the beginning of the loop and then stop recording at the end and then rewind the record and start it again and then start when the loop begins and stop, and he would do that like 100 times to get like 2 minutes of a beat. Like everyone now is so ADHD about everything, and with digital it's just kind of like, oh sweet, well I can just do this. So then everyone does, and that's for the good and the bad. And the bad is that there's a lot of people making really shitty music, for lack of a better term, and it's just everywhere. But it has made it a lot easier for people who do care, so that is really cool.
My name is Kevin Reynolds. I'm an electronic music producer, musician, and I make electronic music. I travel around the world, and you know, that's my life. Me getting into analog music production, that was the only way available in the mid-90s, like early 90s, mid-90s. There was not many options. I mean, there was digital machines like synthesizers and samplers, but most of the time you were recording to tape. So I think my first experiments were with tape when I was a kid. Like I would tape, do dub cassette tapes of, I would record Jeff Mills off the radio, The Wizard, and that was probably my first, I took apart my grandmother's stereo, not to her wishes, but yeah, that was probably my first step. And then, like I said, there wasn't a choice when I started. My major inspirations, I would say number one for me, without a doubt, Kraftwerk. The German band. Like to Detroiters, there's Kraftwerk and then there's Prince. At least for my generation before me and the generation probably a little bit after me, they were the best thing that you can listen to. Kraftwerk just blew my mind when I first heard it, first saw it. So digital music production added and subtracted some things from going from the analog background. Back in the day, like when I would have to save something on analog gear, or more the old school gear, I should say, not necessarily analog, but the old school gear, I had to put like 17 floppy disks, and it took me 20 minutes to save something. Now, with the advent of the digital world that's intertwined in our life, I hit one button, it's saved in a millisecond, So that is a beautiful thing. The negative side of it is it can cheapen your work because you can create a lot of stuff really quickly, but you may not spend as much time on it as you did when you had to do with analog gear and analog equipment. If you cut that tape, back in the day when you had to use tape to record something, you cut it, it's permanent. You could splice it, yes, but, it's a lot more thought process. Here you can undo, click, boom, done. You're right back to where you were. So it can cheapen it in a way. The generation growing up right now grew up in a digital world, and I think the thing about the digital world is not tangible. You can't put your hands on it. It's something that floats through your fingers, and it's a thought. Whereas analog, it's a actual physical manifestation that you can look out, touch, smell, feel, all that. Creates memories that way. And I think the generation nowadays is kind of they want that tangible. They want that living, breathing thing. Well, in electronic music, the vinyl industry is always there. I remember like when there was a shift, I worked at a record label where we were selling units like 5,000 records, 10,000 records, 20,000 records, no problem. And that was on the way down. Now, when the digital shift came in like about 2000, when the first, Napster, when the digital music started coming out, and it like crushed, digital music came out and it crushed vinyl sales. Record shops are shutting down left, right, and center, especially here in Detroit, where it's a vinyl culture. I think, but like I was saying before, with the generation now they are wanting that tangible thing. So vinyl sales are going up. There's a lot of hype in the media that, oh, they're up, it's up, it's up. It is. I mean, you know, you see more people wanting to buy a physical product, you know, a hard copy, like you say. So I think it's something that people want to hold on to. You know, a file you can press delete and it's gone. You know, for me to throw this record out is going to take a lot. You know, it's going to be like, do I really want to put this in the trash can or sell it or whatever? You know, you think more about it. And when you purchase it, you think more about it too. You're like, do I really want to spend $20 on this record? Because vinyl is not cheap. Do I want to spend $10, $20 on this record? It must have some value. Whereas a digital file, it's like, I spent $1 or $2. How much value does it have? You know?
Dr. Jack Van Impe is called by many a walking Bible. Although a young man, he quotes the entire New Testament by memory.